Hello, everyone. My name is Julianne Meyer. You are watching Own Your Wellness, and I'm excited to be here today. I've been waiting to talk with this particular guest for a little while now. I did a little internet stalking and found her, and I'm pretty excited about it. But before we bring her on, I have to give you an apology in advance. I started a juice cleanse, so I'm not feeling 100% myself. Not bad. I don't really have any cravings yet. I'm surprised since I haven't had any coffee in the past couple days. So, and no headaches, which is even better. I was a little nervous about that one. But anyway, we're not here to talk about me today. We're here to talk with our guest, Gina Kunadian. Let's welcome her to the show. I hope I didn't murder it completely. You guys, before Gina introduces herself, I was like, how do you say your name again? She's like, you can just call me Gina, Kay. I was like, I'm going to try. Anyway, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Julianne, for having me. I'm so grateful for being here. And yes, I understand about the whole detoxing and juice cleansing thing. And sometimes our mind is just like, but thank you so much for having me on.
I am so excited for you to be here. You know, as you know, you and I connected privately beforehand, and here's the thing. I reach out to a lot of people just to sort of see, well, I'm particular, don't get me wrong, I'm particular, but there's certain ones that I really want to hear back from, and you were one of them. So I'm excited to have you here today. And I would love to start off with you telling us a bit about yourself and your own wellness journey.
Absolutely. Again, my name is Gina Kunadian, and I'm a women's alcohol recovery coach, and I help them just break through their alcohol dependency so that way they can go ahead and unleash their creative potential and be who they truly are. But my background, is not what it looks like now. So when I was young, from the ages of 6 to 12 years old, I was sexually molested. And with that, I didn't realize I had some trauma within me, causing a lot of stomach issues that created me to always be sick. So I'd miss a lot of school. I'd also just miss a lot of homework. And so everything was going downhill already. And then also the children, yeah, I can say they're children back then. To me, they were just peers. They were just really mean to me growing up. I just didn't connect with anybody. And, and when I was in high school, then I was trying to get involved in relationships. Well, that didn't work either, because starting my first relationship when I was 15 years old, my boyfriend at that time was physically abusive, and I had to file a restraining order on him. And then with that type of trauma on top of the trauma I had before, then it kind of created like these issues with guys. So when I was 17 years old, I decided, you know what, let me give another relationship a try. Did that. However, everything was going smoothly, but this particular guy actually was more into the party scene as well as the rave scene. And so he introduced me to that culture. And mind you, I didn't do drugs before, no marijuana, no cigarettes, no nothing, not even a sip of alcohol. So he decides to take me to a rave. And what happens is I had my very first drug, which was ecstasy. And literally I felt like I was dying, but then I was kind of vibing with everybody because I felt love from everybody, and I felt like everybody was connected. And so that was something that was missing growing up. I didn't feel like I had any connection or any love with anybody besides my mom, who, by the way, never knew about the abuse until later on when I was 22 years old. That's another story. So what happened is that I kind of got involved in that culture. And it became like a habit of just going partying every weekend, even sometimes during the weekdays. And I actually got kicked out of my home. It was my senior year of high school. I got kicked out because I lied to my mother, and I don't blame her. So I was living with my boyfriend at the time, and I was already accepted to go to Cal State Fullerton in Southern California. And so we decided to move over there with a couple of our friends. We thought it would work out, all of us together, but I was developing these like anger issues with my boyfriend at the time. And it got to a point where I started becoming physically violent towards him. I would push him and shove him, and it was just all bad. And it got to a point where we both got into a big altercation where I decided to slice my wrist. And luckily it wasn't too deep. He was all panicky. I called my mom. I actually that evening drove all the way from Southern California to my mom's home, and she says, "Promise me you'll never do that again." I said, "Yes, mother, I'll promise I will never do that again." So that had happened, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and continue on my college. I went to San Jose State University, but got involved in some old high school friends who introduced me to another group of friends who were more of the cocaine and drinking alcohol crowd.
Mhm.
So that's when I started doing cocaine and as well as alcohol. I was about 21 years old or so, and that was my lifestyle. And
Yeah.
I got really close to my friend Melissa. She's dear to my heart. And she was an alcoholic and she was going through her recovery. Unfortunately, her and I got into an argument. Of course, it was because of drinking.
Mhm.
And we decided not to talk for a while. But during that time that we didn't talk, she went to rehab. She got out, but then was killed not too long afterward
Oh,
because
wow.
she went back to drinking and driving, unfortunately. Yes. And so I lost a dear friend of mine. And that was very traumatizing to me because I've never lost anyone close because my real father passed away when I was a baby. So
Mm.
I never experienced any loss. So from there, I was just partying still because I wanted to numb the pain, drinking. Met a guy, he was a DJ, wound up being my husband. We got married in 2000, 2008. I'm sorry, 2007, and then we had our baby in 2008. Of course, I slowed down the drinking and partying and drugs, but as soon as he got to an age where he's gonna be babysat. We went back to then partying and drinking and drugs again. So it was just a continual habit, but it became for like more of a social to habitual, and then it became dependency. Now that
Mhm.
dependency was something else. My husband at the time was codependent. So if I said, "Hey, I want a bottle of vodka," he would have it for me right there. I had empty bottles of vodka underneath my bed. I had them hidden. I would hide and bring alcohol to my work and put them in water bottles, mix it up, hide and drink at work because it got to a point where I couldn't function without alcohol. I couldn't
Mhm.
function at all. I had to drink before I was able to drive. I had to drink before I went to work. I had to drink in order to have any interaction with anybody out in society. That was my life. And again, I started having these behaviors of violence towards my
Mhm.
husband. So it got to a point where he's had enough. He's all, enough is enough. One time he said, our son, he's all, I'm not coming home with him. He and I are not coming. We're just going to be staying at my mom's because you need to get help. And I was so angry and so furious. I remember taking a whole bunch of not ambient, Xanax. There's so many things I was taking, let me tell you. I was, I forget what it's called, but Ativan, and then downing it with alcohol. And I remember one of my good friends was texting me, and I was just saying, you know what? I don't even care if I live anymore. And so he took that seriously because I told him I was going to go ahead and drink and take all this medication. So what happens next? Apparently, he had called my parents. After that, my parents called 911. I
Mhm.
remember kind of in this fuzzy state of mind, being transported to the hospital. From there, they pumped my stomach, and I remember my doctor, my real doctor, was looking at me, and he's like, "I'm so happy you're alive," and I'm just like kind of still out of it. And that's when I
Mhm.
went to the patient program. I stayed
Mhm.
there, and I was just like, "Wow, I really don't feel like I belong here," because it was just too much for me to process. But then from inpatient, I stayed there. I went to outpatient program, and that's where they taught us about anxiety, depression, how to be more mindful, how to live better, how to breathe, how to get rid of whatever mental illness they were going through. And I've made a lot of connections. Those connections became friendships. However, I remember one counselor said this to me: "Are you drinking?" I said, "Nope. I'm here for anger issues, and that's what I'm trying to help with my anxiety and anger." And I never admitted I was an alcoholic at all. And I remember one time in that year in November, I had just finished partying. My mom said, "We're going to go ahead and pick you up. We're going to go to your brother's for Thanksgiving." I was like, "Okay," but I didn't have any alcohol whatsoever in my
Mhm.
refrigerator. So I was like, "Okay, what am I going to do? Hopefully they'll have wine there at my brother's house." And my mom was kind of knew about my drinking. So we go over there, and I was getting the shakes. I was getting the sweats. I was getting nauseous. I felt like I was going to pass. I said, Mom, I need to have something to drink because I feel very ill right now. And she's like looking at me like, no, I don't want you drinking though. I said, Mom, it's a matter of life and death, seriously. And she was like, okay, bless her heart. She comes with 4 ounces of wine, red wine. Mind you, I was drinking a fifth of vodka a day at least. And that was in order for me to function. And I said, no, Mom, I can't do this. And she says, why? I said, I need the whole bottle. And so she just gave it to me and I was acting normal. And that was the first day. It was November of 2014 that I admitted that I was an alcoholic. I just thought I had a high tolerance. I did not feel like I was an alcoholic whatsoever. But that was my first time. I'm like, you know what? I have a problem. So that December, I went to rehab, stayed there for 30 days. And yes, I did great. Went all my classes, met a whole bunch of people. But what did I do after the 30th day? I went to a casino and I drank.
Wow.
Literally
Yeah.
there to yes, and drink. And so I drank, and then I was talking to another guy that we had like a college fling, and he was there with me. And eventually, and then after December, February, I actually wound up getting pregnant by him. And I'm like, okay, so here I'm pregnant. And then after that, I was like, okay, I was staying with my sister. After that, baby comes. But the baby came, almost died. Both of us almost passed away. He had a hypoxia. I was hemorrhaging so much during labor that I almost died and he almost died. But he wound up being okay. Thank you. And so that was trauma for me as well. And so the father and I said, let's go ahead and try to make it work. I wasn't drinking because I was nursing. Well, after I stopped nursing, once baby had teeth, he stopped the bottle, but then I continued my bottle. So here I was drinking again, and I was becoming violent again. So what happened is it got out of hand. I wound up going to jail. His dad called the cops because I was just out of control, and I just felt like things were getting worse and worse and worse. And so I spent time in jail, and then we decided to call it quits. We went ahead and I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and move. This was 2017, and I got a little studio. You can go ahead and take care of our son while I try to get better. But in my head, I was thinking I'm going to get better, but really I was still going to be drinking on my own. But when I moved, I had this severe pain. I kid you not, from the upper torso all the way down to my lower abdomen, all the way around here. I couldn't keep anything down, no liquid, no food, nothing whatsoever. What had happened is any movement, I feel like I was going to die. I had excruciating pain. So I had to call his dad, my son's father, to come pick me up from my new place because I had just moved, to take me to the hospital. Went to the hospital. They couldn't find anything wrong with me. EKG, they did everything. And it wasn't until they did a CAT scan that they're like, you have pancreatitis. So I had to stay at the hospital in order to recover that. But when the doctor came to me, she specifically said this to me: you need to take your health very seriously. She said, right in my eye, she said, you will die in 10 years if you continue on living the way you are living, by drinking as much as you are drinking. So promise me you will never drink again. She's like, cross your heart. I'm like, okay, cross my heart. But I was like, I took it seriously. I was like, I looked her in the eye and I was like, okay, I promise. But during that recovery, no one visited me. I'm sure they were all sick of me and my shenanigans. It was just me, myself, and I. And I really had to do some self-evaluation. And I'm just, what if my daughter had a mother? What if they grow up without their mother? Why would I be so selfish in drinking alcohol when I have 2 little ones to be thinking about? How selfish could I be? And that was the day that I said, you know what? I'm done. I am never going to drink, because I was at the hospital, detoxed and everything. What better opportunity for me to go ahead, start fresh, and be brand new. So that's what I did. When I got discharged, I was at home. Luckily my family did pick me up. That's how they didn't visit me, but they did pick me up. And then I remember their vodka was waiting for me. I took that thing and chugged it, and that was it. I started just then going to church, got a mentor, and I just completely changed my life around. And this was in September, go figure, recovery month, by the way, of 2017.
I love that. I love that so much because, some of the things that you said, I just really want to point out is a lot of people think that a trauma will get you to stop drinking, whereas it's like now you've got an excuse to drink. It's like, woe is me.
Yeah, totally right.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I mean, being in the addiction world for as long as I was, working and, being in AA and all of that was the horror stories that we can see and hear. So the fact that pancreatitis actually helped you to stop, because I have this friend, well, I use the term loosely. She was, yeah, I know her anyway. And I care very much about her, but I wouldn't call it a friendship at this point. Anyway, she was in the hospital from her pancreatitis from drinking so much. She was literally on a ventilator, I mean, so close to death. And this is when she's living in a sober living, which for those of you who are watching means that you don't drink.
Yeah.
And as soon as she got out of the hospital, she was discharged. She didn't even make it back to her sober living before she was drunk again and back in the hospital. So I'm just so glad. And she's actually alive, surprisingly, but I'm so glad that you took that seriously and were able to find your way. So we do need to go to a commercial break, but before we go, I just want to say in the next segment, we're going to be talking about how you found your way to, like your new way of being and how you're able to stay sober, and also about your coaching. So we're going to be back in just a minute. And for those of you who are watching us live, thank you so much for being here today. We truly do appreciate you. And of course, for those of you who are watching us on demand, we love you too. But we do need to go to commercial, so we'll be right back after these messages.
When drug or alcohol addiction take over, things begin to disappear. Your friends, your family, and eventually, you. Recommended by Dr. Phil, New Method Wellness can help get your life back with individualized treatment plans for dual diagnosis clients. New Method Wellness provides the most highly credentialed treatment in a safe and welcome environment. Call New Method Wellness for your free consultation and ask about our national accreditations. Together, we can put the pieces back together.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Let's bring our special guest, Gina, back. All right. Welcome back, Miss Gina. I am so glad you are here today.
Thank you. I'm so glad I'm here as well.
So before the commercial break, you were sharing a little bit about your journey. And I want to say thank you for being so transparent and vulnerable, because it's not, and I'm speaking from my own experience, and maybe I'm putting this on you, but it's not always easy to talk about the things that we do that, we're not proud of. But it helps other people. I remember there was this one exercise. I went to rehab one time, and freaking unicorn, one and done. And anyway, this, which is unusual for those of you who are watching, because I know a lot of people ask me why do they need to go back? And well, I mean, everybody's story is different. But anyway, the point though is that I was full of so much shame and fear and all of these things. And I remember doing this group exercise where everybody sat in a circle and one person stood in the middle and said something they did in active addiction. And then every other person that did the same exact thing would stand up and they would do like a musical chair kind of thing. And whoever was left standing in the center had to say something they did in the middle of, of active addiction. And so it really showed everyone there that they weren't alone, showed me that people have done things just as bad. They've literally done the same things that I've done. So that was a brilliant way to make me feel less alone. And I've always been grateful for that.
Great.
But anyway, I do want to definitely talk about, what your journey was like after you left rehab and really became, kind of grown into the person who you are now. But before we do that, I'd love for you to share a little bit about what you're doing now, and then we'll get back to your story.
Yes, right now, I'm just so grateful to be helping other women who have decided to quit drinking and are in the recovery process. And so I do one-on-one coaching. I actually have my own signature process, and I focus on the mind, body, and spirit. So with the mind, it's all about developing good mindset skills, because for myself, the reason why I drank is because I didn't have enough confidence within me. Mm-hmm. And without confidence, I have to mask it somehow, either with drugs or alcohol. And so I focus on mindset skills as well as, building healthy relationships and better communication skills. And then with body, we focus on, me, because I'm a one-woman show here, is mostly like breathing as well as toning, and then just stretching, because I am a massage therapist as well. I do work with the body, so I know a lot about the body. And then with the spirit, it's just connecting within, healing within, just knowing your gifts, your skills, and tapping into that, so that way you can be the best version of yourself and just shine to everybody else.
I love that. And you have something coming up next week. And people, before I forget, your website, for those of you, here it is. And people can reach you through your website, but you do have an event coming up. So I'd love for you to share about that.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, I do have an event coming up. It's a 3-day masterclass, and it's free. And it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, April 3rd to the 5th. And it's from 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Zoom. And what it is, it's called How to Confidently Build New and Healthy Relationships Without Getting Triggered. Because we all know we get triggered everywhere, especially in the early phases of recovery. Like, boredom is a trigger, right?
That was my trigger, the trigger.
Yeah, and you can find that on my website under the events sections, and there's a link right there to register.
There we go. All right. So, one of the things that attracted me to you and your story and who you are is that you were able to get sober in a less traditional or socially, I don't want to say acceptable, but you did it slightly different than how most people do. And that's what I love, because that's how I, live my life too. So I'd love for you to share more about that.
Yes. So unfortunately, AA and the 12-step program did not work for me. And now, if it works for you, please, by all means, stay with what works for you. But it wasn't working for me. I felt that I felt a lot of shame when I went there. And even though I wasn't drinking and we had to say, my name is Gina, I'm an alcoholic, I didn't want to be classified as an alcoholic anymore, because I was on my way to recovery. So that's like my past life, and I was done with that. And plus I just wasn't vibing with anybody. So what I did is I decided just to be in community and get connected with source. You can call it God, source, universe, whatever you want to call it. For me, it's God. Went to church, and I was involved in service. I love service, serving everybody. So I was in kids ministry. I also did women's studies. as well as helping the homeless is one of my biggest passions, and that's actually how I met my husband now. And so we serve the homeless, and it's just a beautiful, it just brings so much joy when you're helping others that are in need. So that's what I did, as well as I was 5 a.m.ers would go out to Orange Theory and I would work out. So I wanted to get my physical body in shape, because when your body's feeling good, your mind is feeling good. And then I also got a mentor. She was a mindset mentor, and bonus, she is also a fitness trainer. So I had the best of both worlds. And she was just incredible. She really had me look at things in a completely different perspective. Things that I never even thought about, things that are definitely not taught in school, which they should be taught in school, but it wasn't. And I learned this whole new philosophy about like love, vibration, and this, that, and all this. It just, everything brought so much joy. So I practiced everything that I was taught, and I just put it out there. And I felt like, wow, I don't even think about alcohol anymore. Like, people can literally drink around me and it doesn't even faze me. People can literally be smoking cigarettes. Nothing phases me anymore. My heart is full of so much joy and gratitude that I love life now, because I look at it different. I'm so connected to nature. I hated nature before. I didn't like it. I was more like the dance party, techno girl. Don't get me wrong. I still love my music. However, the nature, I'm so connected because I feel so grounded. And that's what really grounds me.
I love that. You know, something that I was thinking about too, about what you were saying, was that you had a mentor. So it's, and community, because a lot of the times when people, you know, have addiction issues, we need guidance, because the one thing that can get us well is the thing that's sick. It's, you know, in between our ears. And it's just so wonderful that you didn't try to just stop drinking and then that call it the day. You know, like, you need to fill your life with something else. You can't just stop a bad behavior and not introduce something more healthy. So I love that you have, and I assume you still have, mentors in general just to help you life.
Yes, I have my mentors. I have like 4 or 5.
I love that. Me too. I definitely, I'm always willing to ask people for help. Whereas before, you know, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it's still a little bit of a struggle, because I'm like, I can do it myself. But why do it all by myself when I don't have to? So, yeah. So what is something that, what's something that you've discovered in sobriety that maybe you were trying to avoid? You know, for example, maybe like a tough issue that you're like, oh my gosh, that actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Loving myself.
That's
Loving
a big
myself.
one.
I've learned to love myself. I hated myself. I just despised myself. I didn't even like the way I looked. People were like, what? But you look nice. And I'm like, no. But learning to love myself. But how do I know I love myself? Because I really don't care about other people's opinions anymore. And someone asked me, how much can someone love themselves enough to where anybody's opinion or anybody's negative comments don't affect you anymore? So I learned to appreciate more of family now. I never wanted to hang out with my mom before. Now I want to hang out with her all the time, you know, and I'm just noticing things that when I wasn't sober, oh my goodness, like family time, I just didn't want to be around them. But now that I'm sober minded and I full of love, I just always want to be around people. Like I was more, but you know what's interesting? I was more of an introvert, but an extrovert when I drink, but introvert. But now it's the opposite. I love going out, but I don't drink anymore. But I just love going out, not an introvert anymore.
Yeah, I think that's been my experience too. I just, you know, it's different. And like you said, I don't care if people are drinking. I really could care less. There's only one addiction that's really hard for me to, I don't know if I'll ever kick it, and that's cheese. Like I love my cheese. I'm mentally obsessed over cheese. If it's in my fridge, I know it's there. I'm going to go down. I'm going to eat it. I don't care. It's a little insane, but alcohol.
Yes, I'm lactose intolerant.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. I would still do it. I know my body doesn't like it, but I still do. Anyway, enough about that. So, you know, when you are mentoring people, are all the people that you help people who are in different stages of recovery?
That's a great question. And right now, I'm actually going to be working with women who are just sober curious, that feel like, you know what? Alcohol doesn't serve me. I don't have a problem. I just don't want it in my life anymore. What are some ways that I can have that just dissolve out of my life?
Yeah. Well, I think too, it's such a way that people connect in this day and age. Let's go for drinks, that sort of thing. And it's just socially acceptable. And to sort of cut that form of, I don't know, bonding out of the equation, unless you know what to do, it feels really like you're being chopped off from part of society.
Right. I noticed that because it's so, it's glorified everywhere, on billboards, in movies, that you see it just so glamorous to drink, have your martini with some cigarettes. And really, it's not glamorous. It personally speaking, it destroyed my life. It destroyed my life. But I am grateful for what I have experienced, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now.
Exactly. I know, because I worked in addiction recovery, I had to take the women to meetings all the time. So I'd hear the same, all the AA slogans all the time. Used to drive me bananas. But, there was this one, like when people would introduce themselves as a grateful alcoholic. And I just thought, what the hell's wrong with you? But then I discovered, I finally figured it out. I was like, oh, okay. Now I understand why they say that because if they hadn't become an alcoholic, they never would have faced how they weren't able to live life, I'm going to use another one, on life's terms.
Makes total sense. Right.
Yeah. So I just out of curiosity, did you discover that a lot of your anger went away when you stopped drinking, or is it something that you had to deal with and it just didn't come out in the same way?
It actually went away. And you're right. You're absolutely right. It did come out differently. My anger wasn't so violent anymore. It was just more like I was sad, and I was able to go through that emotion. And it's really important to actually go through that emotion. So if you are feeling sad, cry. It's okay. And I always held it in, and then everything was held in, that once I was like at the boiling point, then everything was released. Especially when you've been drinking. Yeah, no, it's not. But now I've learned to cope with breathing exercises, and just taking a walk. Like heck, all I gotta do is just take a walk. The weather's a little bit nicer here in California after almost the floods and everything, but now is like a good time to walk. And just being mindful and just being connected to yourself.
I like that. And I like too that you just give people out there an opportunity that maybe aren't, willing to try AA or have had horrible experiences, because I had horrible experiences too. And, as I am saying this, like you, if AA works for you, please keep going. Please, I have plenty of friends that is how they stay sober. And I commend them, because they're doing what it takes for them to live the life that they want to live. And what we're talking about is just, it doesn't have to be that way. Like, there are other options.
There's definitely other options.
Exactly. So we do need to go to one more commercial break. So we're going to be back in just a minute. And once again, for those of you watching us live, thank you so much for being here. We'll be back in just a moment.
Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers, while streaming to millions of devices. real experiences, raw conversations, one destination for it all. E360 TV.
Welcome back. Let's bring our guest, Miss Gina. Welcome back to the show. So happy to have you here today. You know, during the commercial break, I was just thinking about your story, and you know, I would love for you to share, if this is okay with you, what's the biggest blessing that you've received from changing your life in this positive direction, into this positive direction?
The biggest blessing is that I have my children. You know, for a while, like I said, my oldest child was taken away from me. And then, of course, during recovery, my youngest was taken away from me. So now that I'm remarried and I have a nice beautiful stepson now, I have 3 boys, and we're all together. We're all together as family. Of course, you know, the fathers do see the children, and then the mother of my stepson, but we're all together, and just having that family unit has been the biggest blessing.
Oh, I love that. You know, that's the thing with drugs and alcohol is even if you do end up getting sober, sometimes we don't get that. You know, those relationships are past repair, or whoever it is just not interested. And we have to let that be. So I'm glad that that was not your experience, because I don't know what I would do. I don't have kids, but I don't know what I would do. That would just be so hard. So I'm happy for you. And I have a question too about, you know, what about people who are struggling? You know, it doesn't have to necessarily be like, you know, at night, like they really want to drink, but you know, it's those thoughts that are the things that are bothering us from time to time. It's the thoughts that, you know, the fear, the shame, or the unknowing, whatever the case may be, the things that just, I mean, anybody has these thoughts, but what do you do? And what do you suggest other people maybe try in order to calm down that monkey mind that's just, you know, spouting off and won't shut up?
Yes, and you said it right there. I just tell it to shut up. You said it right there. What I do is I tell my mind, shut up. And then I'll do something that's a healthier habit, whether that's going for a walk, exercise, breathing, you know, playing with the children. You want to change different habits, healthier habits for the mindsets, our old mindset, the old way of thinking. I now get rid of those and develop new, healthier habits that I can do, so that way I'm not distracted with those awful, like I call it the roommate in the head, the evil roommate in the head wanting to put you down all the time.
And living rent free.
Right.
Oh, yeah. So I know that you have a signature process. I'm just curious, do you help people as like more of an individual, what works for them? Or is it more like, you know, you have your tried and true tool chest of things that you teach people and then they choose?
Yeah, so I actually personalize it for them. What is it that they need the most help with? And then we just go from there. And I just really, I'm more like an accountability partner too. Like I'm your cheerleader. I'm not a sponsor. I'm not a sponsor, but I am there to cheer you on, to support you, to be there for you no matter what, for the ups, for the downs, because I've been through, I relapsed so many times. I understand. So I'm just there just to be there for them with whatever they need, and just personalize the program specifically for if they want, maybe health tips. I have a background in weight loss. If they want stretching, or if they want to learn different techniques and develop healthier habits, I can help. So
Yeah,
it's
I love that. So my question too is, and this one is maybe a little odd, but as my background is personal training and nutrition coaching, so people will come to me for, say, to lose weight, for example, because that seems to be a really popular one. And but what I've discovered is that it's not really the losing weight that they're after; it's the feeling behind it that they're searching for. So have you discovered that as well? It's kind of like somebody will come to you thinking, this is what I need to solve my problems. And then you end up sort of guiding them to actually get the answers and get where they want to go.
Yeah, it's funny because they do come with certain things like, I want this, I want it, but then it goes deeper. It really goes into the mindset, like their own trauma, whatever they have gone through, and discovering what that is, and then really helping them in the mind with certain philosophies and how to reprogram our subconscious mind from all of these. Not to say our world is corrupt and we learn so much negative stuff, that we really need to deprogram our mind, our subconscious, into really believing in ourselves, because I feel like we were supposed to think a certain way, we were supposed to look a certain way, we had to compare ourselves to this person, to that person, and the whole comparison thing is not good for us whatsoever. So I feel that once we get down to what's really going on and why they really started to drink, then they can start then building more on, it's like everything builds on top of each other. Then they can focus more on the nutrition than the physical, and everything else. It's just really what it comes down to is why they first started drinking in the first place.
I like that. And for those that are watching, I would love for you to explain what you do, because I want there to be a distinction between what you do and, say, therapy.
Oh, yeah, I've had therapy. So yeah, you won't be just telling me your stories or whatever. I don't want to say problems or whatever is going on in your world. I won't be there just to be like, yeah, just listen. Although I love listening. I think listening is very important. But what I do is I take my clients and I have them write down their goals. First and foremost, write down their goals. Their goals that they want to create within a year, 5 years, 10 years. And that's financial, personal, relationships, all the goals. And then I want them to keep it. And then monthly, we'll go over that and just take a look. Okay, have you done this and that? But what I do is I do one-on-one coaching. So I have created over 200 mentoring videos that they all get. I've created so many mentoring videos because I love talking. And so it is really about the mind and communication and how to start believing in yourself. And I think when you start building that confidence within yourself, then you feel like you're unstoppable and you're ready to go, because that gives you more energy. The energy will give you more confidence, and everything just comes together. And so we do Zoom calls, and I just give them a blueprint of what they need in order for them to never drink again, build confidence, have more energy and more clarity in their lives.
I love that. And I do love the idea of, sober curious, because there's so many people out there that realize that, yeah, maybe they're not an alcoholic, but it could end up becoming a problem at some point. And you see it when it's like, now all of a sudden that's your only form of fun, or you're not feeling good and it's interfering with your quality of life, but you still seem to find yourself going out there and doing it again. So I like that idea, though, of sober curious. I haven't heard that in a while, so I'm happy to hear that from somebody like you.
Yeah, it's a sober curious movement. It's fascinating to me because I'm hearing it more and more as well, and I'm just like, wow, I wish I had a sober curious movement, because that probably, if I nipped in the bud right there, then and there, I probably would have gotten to where I have gotten. Death, almost losing my family, losing my kids practically. So I think it is important that people are becoming more curious and wanting to say, hey, there's something else better than just alcohol. I don't have to be going to these happy hours after work.
Yeah.
with my coworkers, I could be doing something different. Maybe go for a nice hike with your coworkers instead. Something involving in nature. Don't bring booze, but or maybe you can try like I love ginger beer. There's no alcohol in ginger beer, but it tastes like I love ginger. The mocktails are very popular now. You know, get creative. You don't have to be, and put them in a wine glass, put them in a martini glass, you know, if you want, if you like that feel or whatever. You don't have to like completely get rid of like the paraphernalia of alcohol. Not like how I needed to get rid of everything. But for the whole sober curious, just try different things to see what you like, and maybe different activities, and discover more yourself, because the alcohol, like I said, is just, it's there to, for no good, really. Like we wake up, we don't feel good. We probably regretted something that we had did, you know, and we have headaches. And then, but then what's funny is that we want to do it again. It's like we forget that what it did to us, right? I remember so many times where it's like, I am never going to drink again. I am never going to drink again. The next day, literally, I was drinking. It's like, oh. So just changing habits, I think, is really, really beneficial.
You know, I think that that's a really good point too about habits, because for me, my drinking, yeah, it was life-threatening, but it was also a habit. It was literally a habit of the way I dealt with life, the way I entertained myself, you know, the way I just, I mean, it was just something that I just did to, I don't know, survive, I guess. But it's just kind of fascinating how it was really a habit more than anything else. Once I changed those habits, I mean, that was my experience, you know, then all of a sudden it was easier. But have you discovered too that, you know, your clients come back to you, like maybe they'll come to see you about something in particular, like, you know, wanting to learn different stress relief or whatever the case may be. And then they just sort of discover that from working with you, all of a sudden, all these other areas in their life suddenly start getting better.
Yes, like, you know, it's just like a domino effect. You do, once you're doing well in one thing, you're going to do well in all things. So when you start taking care of your health by not drinking anymore, that's the first step. Next step is just to rediscover who you are, what you love, your skills, what are your passions, and then practice your passion every day. I always tell my clients, do your skill every day, and then learn something new every day. I am very strong on morning routines and morning rituals. That's your time. That's your time to shine, is what I always say. You wake up, you know, like this is an example. This is my particular morning routine. I wake up, first thing, I recognize my breath, not the morning breath. I recognize my breath. And then, you know what, I said, I'm grateful for having another day. And then I express my gratitude. What am I grateful for? Sometimes I'll time it for like 1 minute. Then after that, I'll go ahead and stretch. Oh, I got to pop right there. I just popped right now. I'll stretch. Depending on how I'm feeling in that morning, if I have a little bit more energy, then I'll go ahead and go for a jog or for a walk. But if I'm a little bit lower energy, I'll go ahead and do some stretching. Then after that, I'll go ahead and first brush my teeth, get ready. But then when I'm doing my makeup, I will listen to some like self-improvement podcasts. I've even listened to some of your shows on here on YouTube. They're very inspiring. So I'll listen to anything that uplifts me. And then, you know, I'll just go ahead and write in my journal my goals for the day and my goal that I want to accomplish before my time is up. I like to always stretch my goals a little bit further. And I just express gratitude throughout the whole day. And that's pretty much my morning routine.
Oh, I'm glad you shared that, because that was going to be my next question. I don't always ask that, but I've just discovered that people who are living intentionally, you know, on purpose, tend to have a morning routine. So I love that. Do you do anything before you go to sleep? Like for me, for example, for me, I don't really have a huge routine, but I always thank God for the day and the blessings that I've received. Always. I always want to end my day on something grateful.
Yes, and I'm so glad that you brought that up, because it's exactly what we do. So what we do is we use the Bible app, and as a family, what we do is we'll listen to one chapter, and then also Proverbs and something else, and then we'll all kneel down, holding hands in a circle, and we'll pray, and then we'll say a prayer, the Lord's Prayer, as well afterward. And that's what we do as a family at nighttime. It's always timed 8 o'clock. We have our timer. So even if we don't have our kids, my husband and I will do it all the time at night. And then sometimes we'll also get into like devotions where he and I will read a scripture that's there, and then it has some questions, and we'll discuss them. It's like kind of like, I want to know about him more, he wants to know about me more, and it actually helps our marriage, believe it or not. Like our marriage, I mean, I guess anything is better than my marriage before, but I really feel like the foundation of our marriage is based off of love and God and just being together whole. And we've just come so close together. Of course, it's not perfect. I'm not saying it's perfect, trust me, but it's so much better when we have a higher power in our lives.
I love that. We are almost out of time. There's only about 2 or 3 minutes left. So I'm just curious, is there anything else that you'd love to share with the audience that maybe you haven't shared before? Or if you want to reiterate something that you've already said, that's fine as well.
Yes, I just want to thank the audience so much for joining. I am grateful for you. And if you are sober curious, or if you are in recovery, please just check out my website. You can contact me, or I would love to jump on a call just to talk, just to get to know you, just to learn about you. It's all about you. And yes, for my event that's happening next week, it's again April 3rd to the 5th. It's on Zoom, and you can find that on my website under events, and there's a link there that you can go ahead and register.
I love that. And then also we sort of talked about this. Well, we didn't talk about it. I threw it up here, but your Instagram, what kind of stuff can people find is it inspirational?
Oh, you can find everything from inspirational to funny stuff to just family stuff to my events that are happening to podcasts that I am also hosting, and little clips of the guests that I host on my podcast. Yeah. You find fun stuff on it.
You mentioned your podcast, but you didn't mention it throughout the show. What's the name of it, and where can people find it?
Yes, it's called Shine Within with Gina Kunadian, and there I just bring on incredible women who just talk about spirituality, health, and also mindset.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show today. It has been an absolute pleasure. And I'm so glad that we finally, got a chance to talk for a little bit longer. So
so much, Julianne. It's always a pleasure to hear your voice, and you're so beautiful.
That's very sweet. So are you. Anyway, that is all the time that we have for today, everyone. So I just wanted to say bye for now. Gina, thank you again for being on the show. And as I mentioned, that's all the time that we have. We will be back on Thursday with Terry Hunter. So be sure to catch us then. Until then, stay happy, stay sober, and enjoy life. And we will see you again later this week. Until then.